All right, you're
Okay,
talking about.
I want to talk about two women.
Yes.
Lily Vincennes, who I knew from 1963 when she joined the Mattachine Society. She was the most effective lesbian in the history of the Washington community. She, at one point, she started holding these meetings for lesbians once a week at her house. She played a major role in the Tammany campaign. She collected more signatures than anybody else in the campaign. You know, it was always there, sort of a supporting role. And she did filming of the gay rights pickets, which were shown. I know that at the third conference in New York at the Barbizon Plaza. The other woman I would talk to is Barbara Gettings of Philadelphia. She died on February 25, 2007. She was intellectually extraordinary person. And in many ways, she was the Frank Kameny of Philadelphia. And Kameny was very close to her. I had a friend, his name was Donald Crawford. In July of 1965, my late partner, Stephen Brent Miller, got picked up by two men from Naval Intelligence. They wanted information about another friend, Perry Rutherford, who was a lieutenant commander in the U.S. Navy. Stephen did not cooperate, did not give them any information. However, they then picked up Don Crawford, who had worked in private enterprise, but he had a security clearance. Don told them what they wanted to know. Perry Rutherford got kicked out of the Navy, moved back to Philadelphia, Rittenhouse Square where his mother lived, and Don lost his security clearance and his job. Don Crawford became Frank Kameny's first security clearance case. And who am I talking about? From Philadelphia, the woman.
Yes. I'm horrible with names.
Huh?
I'm horrible with names.
Yeah, I know. She and Kameny were sort of co-representatives of Barbara Gettings.
Yes.
Were lawyers, you know, for a case. Barbara was enormously talented and bright, articulate person, a very forceful personality. And she was very good in public meetings, on television and things like that. And she had a strong relationship with Frank Kameny, and they worked together for many, many years. Barbara was the single most important, influential person in the Philadelphia community. I went, Mark Siegel, who's a major figure in Philadelphia, he owns the Philadelphia Gay News. He arranged for a memorial service at Constitution Center in Philadelphia, which I went to on the last Saturday in April of 2007. Anyways, that was just an indication of how important Barbara Gettings was. Because I knew her, I would see sometimes, I remember a couple of times I was in the New York Christopher Street, and I would run into Barbara and Kay. Twice it happened. Kay Tobin was her partner. She died just a couple of years ago, and they're buried in Congressional Cemetery in the LGBT area, next to Leonard Matlovich, and Frank Kameny has a stone there, and it's down the street from J. Edgar Hoover's grave. So I think in terms of women involved in the gay rights movement, the two most important people I would say are Lily Vincennes and Barbara Gettings. And of course, Lily was, she was honored in September of 2007, as I was, and Frank Kameny. I know that, for instance, Barbara was very instrumental in the ECHO conferences, which were held in Philadelphia, Washington, and New York, in that order. I will tell you something that happened at the Washington conference in October of 1964 at the Sheridan Park Hotel. It's now a Marriott. Rabbi Eugene Lippman was one of the speakers. On Saturday afternoon, a member of the American Nazi Party showed up in Nazi drag. I kid you not. He had a big box with a big red bowl. He's screaming that he had this jar of Vaseline for Rabbi Lippman. He got arrested. He got arrested by two members from the Vice Squad who had arrested Walter Jenkins, who was on Lyndon Johnson's staff. It was a famous incident that happened in the fall of 1964. Walter Jenkins was top aide to President Lyndon Johnson. Anyways, he got arrested at the YMCA near the White House. What was I going to say? Anyways, those two police officers from the Vice Squad were sitting outside the entrance to our conference, and this Nazi showed up and they arrested and took him away.
Yeah, I'm glad they were there for that.
Yeah. I also met Dr. Alfred Kinsey, who did the Kinsey Report in Bloomington, Indiana, which had an extraordinary impact. Two of his associates were at that conference, and I met them. Wendell Pomeroy, and they were at that conference. And they were there because Kameny had invited them. Because, after the Philadelphia conference, the following year Frank Kameny was in charge, so anybody who represented the viewpoints about the homosexuality with a mental illness were excluded. Yes. Believe it or not, in 1965, the members of the Mattachine Society of Washington had a debate about the issue of whether or not homosexuality was a mental illness. We had one of the officers said, "Well, I know a lot of my friends are sick." Anyways, the vote was 27-5.
Good margin for sure.
Yeah, good. So the things that went on, So, that was another but profound social change, I mean, there were actually people who believed, gay people who believed all that stuff. Because years ago, when gay people would lose a job in the federal government, a lot of them had a tendency to believe, well, this is probably my fault, which it wasn't. You know. So,
I have another kind of large overarching question.
sure.
So from that, first person who spoke talking about being gay being a mental illness to today, there has been a lot of very positive progress for
Sure,
LGBTQ folks.
Yes.
What do you think, especially with, things that have happened in the past few months? I know the NPS no longer includes trans people in the description of Stoke. And a lot of kind of rolling back on rights for gay and trans people. What do you think is
My
the next
attitude
fight?
is that the people who are making those charges are basically homophobic. They can no longer publicly attack gay people directly, so they're attacking trans people. It's an alternative. Donald Trump is his whole crowd of people. That was all about. It gives them a device that they can attack gay people, which is apparently helpful to their base. And that's what I think it's all about. I mean, I don't think there's any really serious, legitimate issues about trans people, about their being able to function in society. I think it's primarily homophobic. And I've thought that right from the very beginning.
And for people who are kind of pushing back against, for like younger gay people, younger trans people, all of that, what strategies from, your decades of involvement in queer activism, what strategies do you think we can use moving forward?
Well, the most important thing is attitude. They have a positive, articulate attitude you can articulate that you should never be on the defensive. It's something I noticed right from the very beginning in my involvement in the community. A lot of people then who approached gay people expected them to be defensive, apologetic about that. And my attitude was completely different. I actually, I had a class in creative writing in 1970 at the university. It's in Northern Virginia, center of the University of Virginia. I wrote a short story, All the Way Home. And it was about four of us on this Saturday in April of 1963. I remember we met at Frank's Camley's house at 5020 Cathedral Avenue that morning, and we were driving to Philadelphia for the planning conference, for the ECHO conference that was to be held the following late August at the Drake Hotel. After the conference, the planning conference was over, I went with Bruce Scott in his blue Corvair to drive to New York. And we stayed in an apartment of a friend who was away. I remember that. Coming back that Sunday afternoon, there was a series of incidents that were coincidences. That Bruce Scott's car kept breaking down. And I used that experience all the way home to tell the story about the life of Frank Camley and Bruce Scott and my life. The short story which I wrote for is called All the Way Home. And it examines the conditions that existed in the mentality of 1963 and then ends with this stream of consciousness, page. Anyways, I did this for a writing class, and so all my classmates got to read it. They were quite surprised.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's called All the Way Home. It captures what I think the mood, the culture of being gay in 1963, which was an extraordinary year because it was the year of Dr. Martin Luther King's assassination, and of course, Dr. Martin Luther King's great speech and President John Kennedy's assassination, which had extraordinary impact on me. I am very pleased about the way that our community has developed, both locally and nationally, and I'm very optimistic that we're going to be able to overcome some of the political problems that the Trump administration has erected. I mean, I just see there's a coming backlash, which is showing up in all these special elections, and will be in this November. There are elections in New Jersey and Virginia, and I think I'm just very optimistic that we're going to be able to deal with that, because he is some of the insane things he's doing. The attack on Harvard University, unbelievable.
And even what's happening in LA today with
Yeah.
deploying the National Guard.
Yeah, correct. He's just, he's lost control. His judgment is extremely poor. He doesn't have any discipline, It's all about him. He's the most narcissistic buffoon. Anyways.
Well, with that kind of optimism that you have, what sort of victories are, like in your perfect world, what sort of victories do you think come next for the queer community?
In what?
What sort of victories do you see coming next? Do you hope to see come next for the queer community kind of at large?
Well, I think the Democrats are going to regain control of the House and Senate, and there's legislation that needs to be passed. I don't think we have gay rights law to pass through.
I don't know how solid it is on a
Yeah.
national level. I think a lot of it's state level right now.
Yeah. I think we're going to make progress in Congress, and we'll continue to make progress in all in the states and cities, as we have here in Washington, D.C. So, there was I remember my late partner, we attended the 1997 Human Rights Campaign National Dinner. Well, Bill Clinton he was speaker. He was the first president to address a national audience. Outside the hotel, there were people who opposed gay rights who were picketing. And it was just the reverse of what has happened. And the gay community was the one constituency where Vice President Harris had an increase. She got 88% of the vote. There were fall-offs in the other constituencies, but I've traveled around in Philadelphia. And I was just recently in California. So I know what the attitudes are in the gay community about Donald Trump. So I'm very optimistic that we're going to deal with any problems that he presents.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you want to add? Tell us about. I know we kept you for a while.
Yeah, I can't think of anything right now.
Alrighty.
You have my card?
Yes, I know Dan has it. I'll take a picture of it as well, or I can
Yeah.
take one. Thank you so much.
If you Google my name on the internet, there are about 20 pages that will come up. About me.
Thank you.